Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. When we get depressed in December and in the summer and all those other months, we like to have our good friend Roger Follebout in the house to cheer us up, and he's here today. Welcome, Roger Follebout.
Pleasure to be here, Mr. Bassett.
I really have needed your visit. I really have needed this.
Well, I'm happy I can be your little ray of sunshine in December.
Well, I don't know about that. You're my dose of reality.
I'll take that.
You're like a gut check.
I'll take that.
But first of all, it's the time of year where your picture's in the paper a lot because you're out ringing the bell for the Salvation Army, and I just so admire your service with that because I've done that, and it's hard work out there in the cold.
It's tremendously hard work. And look, I think you and I will agree on this. Bell ringers that are inside in the mall where it's nice and warm and it's climate controlled, you're not a true bell ringer unless you're outside in the elements and you take more than an hour to be out there getting cold and ringing the bell. You know, unfortunately, because of everything else that's going on in my life now, I have had to curtail the number of hours. But the promise I made to Captain Trantham at the Salvation Army was that I will be back once I retire to make up all of these hours that I'm missing now. So I'm not doing it as much as I used to, and I regret that, but I still give them as many hours as I can. I still love it. I'm still a huge supporter of the Army. And I'll tell you what makes it really, really nice is that without fail, every bell ringing shift, somebody is coming up to me and saying, and these are people that you look at and you think they don't have a nickel to put in this
They
kettle.
take the money out of their shoe and give it to you. It's amazing.
They do, and there's always the great story that comes with that, where the folks will say to me, you know, the Salvation Army impacted my life at some point. I played football for a number of years for the Salvation Army Football League, or we had an issue and we had a fire at the house, and the Salvation Army stepped in to help me out. And they without fail always say, if I have anything that I can give, I'm going to, because I want to get back to them. They helped me out at a really hard time. And I wrote for the TidalHealth Foundation, when I was writing a story for them, I wrote this line that says, there is a purpose for every penny. And I believe that through the Salvation Army too. Every penny donated has a purpose, and it's going to get spent to help someone's life here on the Eastern Shore, which is wonderful.
Fulfillment that you get from doing it's just, you know, even regardless of how great the Salvation Army is, which it is, you're proud to stand there and do it, but you just feel so good about being out with people at the holiday season.
I do, and if you're a people person, there is no better opportunity to interact with folks too. And this is what I tell everybody who rings the bell following me, or someone will come to me knowing that I've done it for a number of years and say, what's the secret to it? And I tell them there really is no secret. You just engage the people as they come to you. There are so many bell ringers out there that just ring with their head down and they're not engaged with the people. And I want to see that change. I mean, you don't get past my kettle without me saying hello to you. And I don't care if you donate to me. I don't care if 2 weeks down the road you donate to somebody else, or if you have other causes that you're donating to through the holiday season. That's great. That's great. And it really doesn't matter if you put any money in my kettle. But you're not going to get past my kettle without me engaging you and saying hello to you. And it's kind of the same thing out at the ballpark when I'm ushering out there, and I know we'll probably talk about that in a little while too. I want to say hi to everybody that comes by me or to me or past me, because you know, it's in my nature to reach out and say hello. And in particular, when you're working for the Salvation Army and you're working on a fundraising effort to help them out, and I believe the goal is $150,000 this year here locally. I want to do what I can to get you involved. And surprisingly, so many people will, if you just say hello to them, will stop what they're doing, they'll turn around, they'll come back to say hi to you, and they'll donate.
Sure.
It happens all the time with people who are walking away or walking past me and I say hello. They'll come to a stop and they'll throw a few cents in the kettle and put a couple of bucks in there. And hey, look, mission accomplished, right?
Yeah, I don't always have the money when I'm going in, but after I get my change from the register or whatever, I'll do it on the way out. You know, you've planted the seed. So if you don't have it going in, if you've got any when you come out, then just put it in then.
Always. And as I said, you know, the purpose for every penny. And remember, the Salvation Army, the Red Kettle campaign was built on coins for kids going into the kettle. And it's still the same today. It's nice to get the $5 bill, the $20 bill when you get them every now and then. But it's just as heartwarming when the little kid will walk up with a fistful of pennies and just dump a bunch of pennies into the kettle.
Right.
It means the same thing. It is meeting the same purpose as that $20 bill. Everything helps out.
You work at TidalHealth. You've been there for a long time. You're the
24 years
you're
now.
the voice and face in many ways of TidalHealth. Such a great organization.
Thank you.
But I keep reading in the media today, the big story in the Washington Post this morning is that there's a bounce back in COVID after everyone was together Thanksgiving. Can you tell me what you're seeing there at the hospital?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at the numbers this morning, but I will just say that we are breathing again, which is nice in the organization, given where we were at this time 12 months ago and turning into the beginning of 2022 when it was really, really bad. We are nowhere near that. Now, the team is busy. There's no question about it. This is a bad flu season. RSV is out there in the community, so we're seeing a lot of that. We're still busy. There's still a lot going on, but the COVID numbers are nowhere near where they were a year ago. What we're also seeing is with COVID, it's trending toward if you are in the hospital, you're sick and you're really sick, but you're not ventilator sick. You're nowhere near where we were a year ago with people coming in who were desperate and really at the end. People are sick when they're there, but most people are recovering at home. They're managing this. A testament to the vaccinations. And if there's one thing, if there was a soapbox to stand on in this room, I'd be on it screaming about get vaccinated. Get your COVID vaccinations, get your boosters, get your flu vaccinations. So important. Your best, I love this line, your best shot at beating the flu is to be vaccinated. And I can't say that enough, and I won't stop saying that through the entire flu season.
Yeah, I'm up to 5 shots now, but I didn't get my flu shot this year for some reason.
Come see me.
Exactly. Like, what's wrong with me? I don't understand.
You really do need that flu shot. And again, I think people are so concerned about COVID and the fact that, you associate COVID with being this great killer of people, which it has been over its run. But the flu kills an equal number of people, or almost an equal number of people, when COVID is not at a spike time, So people do die from the flu. People do get really, really sick from the flu. So it's equally as important, Mr. Bassett and everyone else, that you get your flu shot.
And this RSV stuff, especially for parents, kids, that is a very scary situation.
It is really tough. And the thing is there's no vaccine, there's no vaccination for RSV. All you can do is to try to keep a close eye on your kids if they start developing those signs and symptoms. And the CDC is a great place to get some information on that, cdc.com. Or is it .org? I've forgotten now. But through the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, great information out there. Just keep an eye on your kids. That's so important. And if they start exhibiting any signs, don't wait. Be a smart parent. Take them into urgent care, or if it's really a critical situation, bring them to the emergency department. We're always saying we want the right cases in the emergency department, but when it's a kid and it's your child, and if that child is really, really ill, please bring the child to us and let us help you out.
Through COVID, the big motivating factor for me to do the right thing through COVID was I didn't want to go to the hospital and have to take up some nurse's time for my stupidity.
Yeah.
I worried a little bit about getting my mother sick, that kind of thing. I didn't care about myself getting sick. But I didn't want to burden the healthcare system. And we saw the morale plummet with so many people. They changed jobs. I don't know what happened here locally so much as you hear about nationally in terms of nurses.
Yeah, tens of thousands of nurses leaving their profession.
They left their profession just because of all that stress. So my question is, what's the morale like at the hospital now? How are they doing?
So really good. I can't say enough about the team. And when I say the team, not just the nurses. The physicians, the environmental care staff that needed to turn those rooms over, the food and nutrition staff that was bringing food in, the techs, the respiratory techs who are equally involved in every COVID case and patient care. Just a remarkable job. And as I said, we're all catching a breath again. We're all able to breathe again, which is nice. We'll see after we get through Thanksgiving and Christmas what comes. But I would say the overall morale of the hospital is really good right now. And I am so proud to wear their colors and wear their logo and to fly their flag and to get out here and to tell everybody, again, who will listen, what a great job that team has done for the last 2.5 years, just fighting through this thing. Just a wonderful job by everybody. And what sometimes goes unnoticed too is that we developed care paths and plans of care that not only worked here in Salisbury, but obviously were shared with TidalHealth Nanticoke up the road in Seaford, which we own. But also, some of these ideas were shared nationally among other hospitals, where what we had proven to be very good patient care plans and ideas and pathways of care were equally as accepted and equally as successful at other hospitals around the country. So great job by everybody. And until you were there and until you were in the middle of all that, and you hear the nurses talk about how important they were, and pastoral care, I really want to get a plug out for our pastoral care team too, because there were a number of months we went through no patient visitation. So, in keeping the morale and the spirits up of these patients, it fell on the nurses and it fell on pastoral care. And unfortunately, at those times when people were passing and they were passing without their loved ones there, it was the nurses, it was the pastoral care team, it was the folks in the room that could be in the room that helped in that transition from this world to beyond, and just as equally as important as any dose of medicine we ever provided to anyone during COVID was having those individuals at the bedside too.
But these people at the hospital are true heroes.
They are. They're absolute heroes. I mean, they stepped into a war zone, and it was not of their making. It was not something that they wanted to do. They could have turned and they could have run, but they didn't. They sat there and they slugged it out, and they jumped right in, and they said, look, this is why we got into healthcare. This is what we have to do. We're just going to do our jobs. And you talk to the people on the front line, and you mentioned heroes, and they are indeed heroes. But if you ask them, are you a hero? And 99.9% of the time, the response I get is, no, I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
Just doing my job. And I mean, that's exactly why they're in healthcare. That's exactly why they're there. And that's the kind of people you want caring for you, when it's critical or when you've just stubbed your toe or you've got some minor little injury. But that's their mindset is, we're just doing our jobs.
Right. Now, of course, again, you're here to inspire me again today.
Have I so far?
So far, I'm doing
good. Well, good.
So here comes the next problem. My doctor.
Oh, you're full of problems.
Doctor, there's a whole team of physicians.
Yeah, I understand.
My doctor, Dr. Iggy Nenaro, passed away 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Great guy, by the way.
The best guy.
Super guy.
And I have not been to a doctor since, of course. And 60-year-old male, my father died of prostate cancer. We know it's going to happen to me, and here I have not had an examination for 2 years, but I want to hear again your story of inspiration. You just had your 10-year anniversary on this?
10 years, correct.
So you had it as a fairly young man.
51 years old.
And went through that. So tell me where you stand with that. What is your advice for dummies like me who are not taking care of themselves?
Well, if I could roll the clock back 2 years, I would tell you immediately find a primary care physician and have you at least your annual physical, and I'd encourage you to do that now.
Yes.
Because if you look at me, I was 51 years old. There is no cancer incidence in my family. There's no history of it. I am the history of it. I'm the beginning of prostate cancer in my family. So at 51, I like you, I blew off my physical at 50. And my wife, and God bless her for being she said to me...
Talk about a hero. His wife is a hero.
She was a rock. She said, look, go get your physical. So I did it at 51. And sure enough, my PSA levels were high, but not off the chart. So I ran into Edney, Dr. Mark Edney, in the hallway. And I said to Dr. Edney, hey, here's my number. I'm 4.9. And I stopped him in the hallway and he said, we start being concerned when you get above 4.0. 4.9 is not ridiculously off the chart, but let's do a biopsy and let's be sure.
Went right for a biopsy?
Yeah, he said, let's do a biopsy and let's be sure.
Okay.
And not the most comfortable thing I've ever gone through in my life. And I will tell you, and gentlemen, I will tell you, the worst part of any of that process that you go through is going to be the biopsy, but you just get through it. So they did the biopsy, and of course they have to get to your prostate, so they enter through a very delicate area of your body. And the probe goes in, and the probe takes 12 samples, or at least for me it was 12 samples of the prostate at different points around, so 12 core samples. 10 of the 12 came back as cancerous for me, so I clearly had prostate cancer. My Gleason score was I think 7, and at 6 again. 6 again is moderate, and then the Gleason score climbs from there. But I think I was 7. But by that point they had staged me at 3, so I was stage 3 already. Thank goodness it had not spread beyond the prostate. And had I waited, Lord knows what would have happened. But got the results back from the test, and Dr. Edney said to me, "Look, got a couple of options here. We can try a different procedure where we freeze it," or he said, "You're 51, you're a young guy. My advice to you is I would much rather just go in and get this thing and take it out of you." So I agreed to that, and we scheduled robotic prostatectomy surgery and had it done, had the prostate taken out, and here I am, 10 years later. I had so that was 2012. In 2016, I had a little scare again where my numbers started to climb. And what they believe happened was that on the margins, and Dr. Edney tried to spare as much tissue as he could, taking the prostate out. But on the margins, they think a little something got left behind. So I had to go through 39 sessions of radiation, which was no big deal. At worst, it was a little upset stomach for me. Got through that, and since 2016, I have been absolutely whistle clean every time through the blood test. So, yeah, I mean, it was a routine annual physical that saved my life.
How do you stay so upbeat through this? Because when this happens to me, I just know I'm going to tank.
See, but you're not.
But
you're not. I mean, cancer is you have cancer is 3 words that nobody wants to hear. No guy, no man, no woman, nobody wants to hear you have cancer. But you have prostate cancer is better than 90% curable, almost 95 to 99% curable if caught early enough. So that's the key. Getting it found before it leaves the prostate and spreads to somewhere else is absolutely critical. But I knew going in, and you talk to anybody who's gone through cancer, and they will tell you the best thing you can do is to be optimistic. And to believe that you're going to fight your way through this, and I have, and I did, and I never had a doubt for a moment that I would. And like I said, if you're going to get cancer, prostate is the cancer to get. So I got lucky. I got one that is extremely curable. I had a great physician in Mark Edney. I had a great care team around me, and I've been good. So, I mean, there's no other way to be but upbeat about this, and I will talk to any group, talk to any man who wants to hear from me about what I've went through and the importance of early detection and just having that physical. So again, 10 minutes after my rambling, we're circling back to Greg Bassett and saying,
yeah,
please go have your physical.
But still, you're so inspirational to so many people, and there's part of me, like, if you mention on Facebook, I'm like, oh God, Roger's talking about his prostate cancer again. But then I'll be driving in the car and I'm like, thank God he is, because people like me need to hear this.
Well, and again, I'm one of how many millions of men who have gone through this, how many thousands of men on the Delmarva Peninsula, tens of thousands of men probably who have been through this. And it's, and I don't blame guys who don't want to jump up again on that soapbox and preach about this. It's a very personal thing. It's a very personal cancer, and it changes you a lot. I mean, and let's face it, after the surgery for a number of men, there's retraining your bladder to work without your prostate. So there's a little leakage that occurs afterwards. There's erectile dysfunction that happens to a lot of guys, and it happened to me. But you get through that, and there are options and there are treatments for things like ED and for a leaky bladder, and you're alive. Okay, regardless of anything else, you're alive. And I've had 10 more years to share with my family, 10 more years to share with my friends, 10 more years to share with my colleagues. In how much of life would I have missed, including the birth of my grandson, had I not been passionate about taking care of this when I knew I had potentially an issue.
Interesting. How are things going on with the hospital transition? TidalHealth rebranded, added Nanticoke,
Yeah.
Chris Field to the house. How should we be feeling about healthcare on Delmarva right now?
So really good. I mean, we're from a strategic standpoint, we're just 2 years out of the rebranding and the reforming of the new health system. It was September of 2020, a couple of months right before COVID hit, that we rebranded the system and we brought TidalHealth, Nanticoke, the old Nanticoke Memorial Hospital in Seaford. We brought them aboard, and McCready Memorial Hospital, now the TidalHealth McCready Pavilion in Crisfield, came aboard. Everything is going really, really well. We're continuing to add great physicians to the team. We're continuing to add new services to the team. And what I'm really happy about is a lot of those new services are happening at places like Seaford, at TidalHealth Nanticoke, where Dr. Kurt Wayberg has come back and rejoined the team again after being away for a number of years. And Dr. Wayberg has really launched a new robotic lung program up at TidalHealth Nanticoke, which is revolutionary. It is cutting edge. We put a Da Vinci robot in there about a year ago, and that program has really taken off. And there are new and exciting things happening, including a robotics and surgical specialties unit that opened at TidalHealth Nanticoke. Great things going on, as well as great things happening here. So, yeah, healthcare is in really good hands right now. The team that we have from the administration side, from the executive team and the board, all of the boards, the system board, the hospital boards, everybody is passionate about this. Everybody cares about this. Everybody knows that the most important thing that we have to do is to ensure that we're good stewards of this organization, and as good stewards of this organization, that we push it again forward for another 125 years and more, as TidalHealth Peninsula Regional, the old PGH, is 125 years old this year. TidalHealth Nanticoke is 70 years this year, and McCready will turn 100 years on May 6th of 2023. So there is a great legacy of healthcare. There have been great things that have occurred over the last 125 years in this health system, and we're just keeping the seat warm and trying to make it better for the next folks who come in behind us.
So many people don't understand how the nature of healthcare has changed. So I hate anecdotal stuff, but here's an anecdote. They call my mother all the time to follow up on her conditions. And so her attitude is, well, the hospital must be short of money because they keep calling me and they want me to come in and get checked. Mm-hmm. So, and of course she doesn't understand. There's, you have the new president, Steve Leonard, not new, but in her mind new.
Sure.
So she's like, that guy who bought the hospital, he must need money because they want me to come in and be checked. And I'm like, they want to keep you healthy. They don't want to wait for something to go wrong.
We didn't sell the hospital to anybody. Right. All we did was we merged 3 teams together to a 5,000 person health system. We changed the name to reflect more of what we were doing, because we're so much more than Peninsula Regional Medical Center.
Right.
That we were for a number of years. So nobody bought us. We're the same group of people. We're the same docs. We're the same leadership. Steve had been with the hospital for almost 20 years before he became president and took over for Peggy Nalepa when Dr. Nalepa retired. But yeah, and you're right. And your mom, and I'm glad we're calling your mom, because this is. Healthcare used to be, for years and years and years, it was heads in beds.
Right.
We wanted to get you in the hospital and we wanted to care for you. Now, that big blue H that you see on every sign that identifies a hospital in the area is as much about health as it is hospitals. Health and wellness, that really is how we're redefined now. And you're right, we want to do it, and it seems weird to see to have a hospital say this, but we want to keep you out of the place. Right. I mean, we want the beds for the heart patients and the orthopedic patients, and when moms have babies that need to be born, and the COVID cases, and the things that absolutely require you to be in a hospital. If we can avoid having you there, we'd much rather have you at home and take the time to teach you what you need to do to stay well and to remain well. It's the old give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, right? If we can teach you and educate you on how to stay healthy and take better care of yourself, then you're not a burden on yourself. You're not a burden on the system, on the healthcare system in general. You're staying healthy, and it's win-win for everybody. Look, we have plenty of business to keep us busy.
Right.
Okay? So if we can keep you healthy when you don't have to be in the hospital, perfect. We'd much rather do that.
On a personal side, you're a big fan of the Philadelphia Eagles.
I am.
You're a big fan of the Michigan Wolverines.
I am. It's been a great season.
I think you're having a good year.
I'm having a really, really good year. So you'll ask any Michigan fan, and I grew up in Michigan, which is why I'm such a Michigan fan. But they will tell you that you could have a 12-win season, and if you lose to Ohio State, you have lost. It's been a horrible year. Okay, so now we beat those guys 2 years in a row, and not only did we beat them, we beat them on their home field. I mean, beat them badly on their home field, and no apologies at all to any Ohio State fans out there. I loved every second of that, and I see that they have backed their way into the playoffs now. And if we get to see them again, we'll beat them again. I don't mind beating them twice in a span of a month. That's fine. That's fine. And as far as the Eagles go, I have to eat a little crow on this because I was one of those guys screaming, "Get rid of Hurts! Get rid of Hurts! Give me somebody! Draft somebody!"
Somebody knew something we didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kid took the off season. And he learned how to play quarterback.
Right.
He really has, and not only that, he's become such a great team leader in the locker room too. Yeah, I mean, what a great start. Well, as we tape this, the Eagles are 11-1 and rolling, and yeah, I mean, it's good to be an Eagles fan and a Michigan Wolverines fan this year.
Anything I forgot to ask you today?
Yeah. Well, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about baseball. I'm excited to get back to Shorebird Stadium again. I've been ushering. I think this will be the 7th year that I'm out there ushering. We touched on that a little bit. I love that. It's the greatest summer job I've ever had in my life. And as much because you get the chance to interact with people. You know, I tell Jimmy Sweet and I tell Chris Bitters, I can't believe you guys are paying me to watch a baseball game. And they are essentially paying me to watch a baseball game. But, you know, an usher's work is busy before the game begins. You're wiping the seats down. You're getting the stadium ready to go. And then probably for the first couple of innings, you're seating people and making sure that everything is going right and people are where they need to be and they're finding things that they need to find around the ballpark. But then for the next 7 innings, you're essentially just telling kids to stop running through the aisles.
Right.
And you're just keeping an eye on things to make sure things are running smoothly. The coach will take care of what's going on in the field, and what's really kind of cool is that once the game begins, you know, the umpires the umpires have control inside the chalk lines. Outside of those lines, Chris and Jimmy kind of turn it over to the ushers and say, "Look, we need you guys to just take care of our ballpark, make sure things run smoothly, make sure the fans get what they need, and to make sure that they have a great experience because, you know, money is still tight." Money's always going to be tight,
right.
And there are a number of entertainment options for your dollar.
Right.
We love it when you spend it on the Delmarva Shorebirds. So we're going to make sure that we do everything we can that ensures you have a good time at the ballpark.
He's Roger Follebout. He's fulfilled his mission here today. He's inspired me to get through this month. So, Roger, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure to be here, and please schedule your physical.
I'll think about it.
I'm never coming back if you don't.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of One-on-One right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and One-on-One. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.